Welcome to Theater Talk, the podcast where we delve into the heart of theatrical productions and share insights with cast members and directors. I'm your host, Bleu Do'zia, and today I'm particularly excited to bring you a conversation that is near and dear to my heart. We are joined by two incredible cast members, Sarah Downs and Lanie Smith, from Bekah Brunsteter's poignant and powerful play, The Cake. This episode is special, not only because of the wonderful insights from Sarah and Lainey, but also because The Cake itself is a play that speaks volumes about contemporary issues. Co directed by myself and the talented Joanna Schilling, this production is also a centerpiece for our annual scholarship dinner, highlighting themes of love, acceptance, and personal growth. During today's discussion, we will explore the significance of Brunsteter's work, examining how the cake challenges audiences to reflect on societal norms and personal beliefs. Sarah and Lainey will share their experiences and the emotional journey they embark on with their characters, offering listeners an inside look at the storytelling process. We will also discuss the importance of community engagement and why it is essential for audiences to witness this remarkable play. Our annual scholarship dinner is not just an evening of celebration, it's an opportunity to highlight the transformative power of theater. The cake serves as a catalyst for conversation and change, and we want the community to be part of this experience. So join us for this insightful episode as we dive into the world of the cake with Sarah Downs and Lainey Smith. Whether you're a theater enthusiast or new to the stage, this discussion promises to be both enlightening and inspiring. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, it's Bleu Do'zia with Theater Talk, episode 3, where we are going to be meeting two of my former students, now community theater actors, Sarah Downs and Lanie Smith. Both of these girls have been with me for a really, really long time. Why? I don't know. We'll figure it out in this month's episode. We are working on a wonderful project called The Cake by Bekah Brunsteter, who is the writer of This Is Us, NBC's wonderful sitcom. That was not a sitcom. It's a drama that made you cry every week. Bekah has a wonderful, wonderful gift in writing and making sure that she humanizes each and every single one of her characters. And this is no different. It's a live play. It's an hour and 40 minutes long, no intermission. And you get to love and hate each and every single one of the four characters that are being portrayed. It takes place in North Carolina, where we meet Della Brady, who is a baker who owns Della's Sweets. And her goddaughter comes home and exclaims that she is getting married. And Della offers to make her wedding cake until she meets Macy, her lesbian lover. So we are so glad to have both Sarah Downs and Lanie Smith, who are playing the lesbians in the show. So Sarah and Lainey, Sarah is playing Macy, Lainey is playing Jen, and Jen is the goddaughter that comes home. And I presented this to both of you last year as a potential show option. If you don't know Lainey, Lainey is one of our many talented backstage folks. She's our production stage manager. And so this is her first time back on stage in a really, really long time. Lainey, let's start with you. Why the heck did you audition for the show?
There was something about the show that kind of had a pull on me. It just made me feel like I should be a part of it on stage instead of just behind the scenes in my little corner up in the booth. I wanted to be the person to tell this story because I feel like it really resonates with me and I have a lot of connection with the character Jen. I feel really lucky to be a part of this show. There's a lot of shows that are very thought provoking, and being able to see the cast of those shows perform them and how that impacted me. I wanted to be the person that impacted the the people in the audience this time. Um, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And Sarah, I approached you exactly a year ago almost,
Exactly a year ago.
inviting you to come and play Macy. Why'd you accept, you crazy loon?
Well, I accepted because um, as I've gotten older, I've really been leaning more into my own queerness. And so the opportunity to play this character was just a perfect opportunity. One, because of my own self-discovery and my own queer journey, but two, because it's not every day that a Black young female character with confidence just comes along. That's not usually the story being told for Black females, and so I'm really privileged to be able to play a character who's super confident and wise and educated and just rooted in who she is, and that's really exciting for me as a Black actor.
The beautiful part about Macy's character, which most of the cast know, I do not care for Macy at all at the beginning of the show. I despise her character. She's like this know-it-all. But the one beautiful thing about Macy I can say is that she's a character that is written by a white woman, but she's written in a way where there is no victimhood, there is no struggle, there is no sense of anything beyond that. She just happens to be a Black woman, which is very rare in a lot of stories that specifically require an African American cast member. I love that.
That's true. Most of the stories I've been a part of as a Black cast member have been stories of struggle or despair, or I'm taking a job just because it's a job, but I don't really want to be here. Like, it's that kind of an attitude. And so being able to just play someone that really doesn't have any kind of despair or struggle attached is really freeing for me personally. And it does show the diaspora of the Black experience.
It's amazing because she only mentions the fact that she's Black twice in the play. Once is when Della, who's being played by Paige Yulovich, says that, oh, she's a beautiful Black woman. And the second time where Macy says, I'm Black, I'm queer, I'm a woman. That's it. Other than that, she literally could be played by anybody else.
Yep.
So cool.
And I love that. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So we do have, I mentioned Paige Yulovich is playing Della, and we also have Will Speakman, who is playing Tim. And so they're the other two cast members. It's just a 4-cast member. But we also have Joanna Schilling, who's my co-director and understudy for Della, and she's performing on the April 12th scholarship dinner and show day. So Jen, let's talk about her for 2.5 seconds. I find Jen to be very, very whiny at the beginning. Excuse me. She lacks confidence. She lacks a lot that as a woman, I'm kind of like, oh my God, I just want to yank her. Have you found any correlation between you and the character of Jen?
Yes. There's so much about me that I see in Jen, especially that lack of confidence. When I was young, it was very much like, oh, I would let people talk over me all the time, walk all over me. I did what I was told. I was raised a certain way, and that's how things were. I was not going to try and but yeah, I did it. I conformed really realistically, and it took me until I was in my early 20s to actually find myself and who I am. I am a out proud queer person now. um who I constantly am dealing with family members who don't agree with my choices, and it does hurt, but I am different from Jen in the way that I'm like, I can accept that. Whereas this is Jen's journey, of trying to figure out if she can handle that. And does she just want to revert back to that childhood version of herself where everything's okay. I don't have to be gay, because if I choose not to, then I can still have my godmother, my mom's best friend, who is kind of like this, what's the word, like a surrogate mother for her. It's hard to make that choice of, do I choose this person who she says is the only person she's truly ever loved, or does she stay comfortable? Really, it's about being comfortable. And I have had to get out of that comfort zone and really be like, it's okay to be myself and to be queer and to be loud and take up space. And Jen is still trying to find that in a lot of ways.
How about you, Sarah? What part of Macy can you relate to?
I love that question. I think I can relate to Macy's, I guess, not necessarily want, but need to correct people when they're wrong, right? And it's interesting because I try not to be a know-it-all, but I have been told, like, oh, you know too much. You shouldn't know this much about something. And so I do connect with Macy in that way, of the fact that, like, she's going to correct you. She's going to tell you you're wrong, and she's going to say her opinion. And I've made enemies doing that. But I love those experiences for me, of being able to tell someone, hey, like, no. Like, it's just not something I agree with. And being able to just freely vocalize and stand in your truth is really something I connect with Macy. But then again, something I don't connect with at all is Macy is agnostic. She really, like, disconnects from religion. She thinks the Bible's just, like, it is refuted by scholars, but she she has a lot of she's just very agnostic, and I am complete opposite from that. I am praying every Sunday at church, and if I'm not at church, I'm going to my pastor on Monday to ask her for communion. So that is different from me and Macy, and I think that's kind of interesting for me to explore, is like, how does my own, like, how are my thoughts on religion so different from Macy's, and why? And I really love that. When we're developing these characters and we're learning about them, it opens up our own personal curiosity as well.
I think that's one of the discoveries that we're really finding as a company with this show, is how important it is to find some relation to the character as much as you can without hurting your inner mental health and status. At the same time, it's also important to distinguish the differences, because those differences is what you have to bring out and work towards, right? So it's an incredible, for me, to watch both of you take these characters from paper to life, but also to see you as the adults that you are, not my kiddos. So I have been watching myself and giving you direction and not being like, no, do it again, but it's been an incredible journey so far.
Are you ready to discover your truth through art? Join us at the Stone Branch Center for the Arts for our exciting workshop series, Workshop Your Truth. Every third Thursday from February to May, unleash your creativity with hands-on workshops in visual art, voice, poetry, and theater. And don't miss our culminating event in June, where you'll showcase your unique creations alongside fellow artists. Everyone is welcome to participate by donation and let your voice be heard. Visit SelahTheaterProject.org/truth to secure your spot today. Unleash your inner artist. Your truth awaits.
Hey everybody, we're back with Sarah Downs and Lanie Smith, who are two cast members from The Cake by Bekah Brunsteter that Selah Theater Project is putting up on April 4th through the 6th and again on the 11th through the 13th. April 12th will be our annual scholarship dinner in honor of Larry Lamar Yates, who is one of our theater angels. And every year around this time, we choose a play that we believe is completely significant to Larry's personal mission, which is the work continues. And that's exactly what we named our scholarship dinner. The work continues after he passed. And we have fully invested in doing an annual scholarship fundraiser for any young person that wants to take summer camps or fall classes. And it has been a remarkable 5-year journey. And so this year, 2 of the recipients of scholarships through the Larry Lamar Yates Scholarship Fund, before it became a scholarship fund, it was just Larry himself who made sure that these 2 wonderful human beings were able to have access to theater in the middle of for all. Did I say it right? Did I say it right? For all. And so I want to talk about the significance of this piece, how it correlates with Larry and his personal mission and drive. And what do you think is so important for audience members to get about this show?
Well,
Don't all
I'll
speak
go
at once.
first. I'll go first. I think the significance of this show and how it relates to Larry is he just had so much love, and such a drive to ensure that children felt loved. And this show is really, at the end of the day, about love, right? It's about making sure that we're bridging communities and that we're having tough conversations and that, we're making choices that are of love, even when they confront our personal beliefs. And so this show really reminds me of Larry. I didn't even know Larry when I was an angel receiving scholarship money. I literally thought the money came out the sky. I didn't know who had written the check or how it happened. All I knew is I was getting picked up and brought to summer camp, and I was excited. And so now as an adult, being able to make choices with my financial investments in communities, I really try and consider the Larry Yates way of doing things and where does my impact go? Where can I show love to communities who maybe aren't heard or acknowledged or seen? And how can I ensure that children are being taken care of? And so this show is a great show for that mission because it's all about love. And Della, as a surrogate mother, making choices of how do I, show up with love while also having a very particular belief system. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. When I was a kid, I knew that I was a scholarship kid. But I did not know anything about Larry. I was like, oh, cool, we're doing this now. I showed up on Blue's door and she was like, ah, all right, come on in. So having the ability to do that, I don't think my life would definitely be a lot different if I hadn't had that opportunity. And I think that through the fundraiser, I think we continue to be able to give these kids the opportunity to do that and to find themselves through theater and have this just really fun opportunity. Because otherwise, they could do school theater or something else. But I think especially through like the summer camps, that's when you meet new friends from other schools. That's when you kind of have that community and meet kids your age that have the same personality as you. You get along really well. And I think that that's a huge part of doing the dinner is bringing the community together and being able to provide them with something thought-provoking, something that they never had to think about before. Or maybe in this case, with the cake, they see themselves in Della, they see themselves in Jen or Macy, and they can take that with them, a piece of them, and see that, decisions are hard. And what the decisions that everyone has to make in this show are very hard decisions. But I think that this play would be the perfect one to do for the dinner this year. Out of the ones that we have for the season, we always pick really good community pieces for this show for a reason. Um, and I think this is going to be just another great dinner. Good food, good community, really feel the love.
I think it's amazing that people look forward to this dinner. And it's not like it's we don't do silent auctions and all of that other stuff. Like, it's literally your ticket is the money that goes into the scholarship fund. And
Mhm.
my father is the chef that comes up from Atlanta, Chef Do'zia. He comes up and he donates the food and his time and his gas. And then the space is also donated. So we have no real overhead expense other than the show itself, which is already paid through our regular budget. So all of the ticket sales that we have from the scholarship dinner go straight to the scholarship fund. So it's not asking anything more or less from people other than to come and have a great meal that is very well seasoned and and come watch a great show that will continue the conversation. Now, the difference this year is that we are hosting a rainbow wedding after the show, which is one of those crazy moments where I called Lainey and said, "Hear me out. I have an idea. What do you think?" And 99% of the time, Lainey's like, "Okay, buddy."
Yeah.
And so, but there's never like a huge pause. It's just a moment for her to process everything. And we decided that this could be an even better way to bring the community together, as we know that we're living in different times than like 2015, 16, and a lot of folks are scared in this world right now. And so, for a moment, for folks to come be in community with each other, remember Larry and his personal missions and drives, support kids in the arts, and then also have all the love in the room at one time. I know by the end of the night, I'm going to be bawling.
Yeah,
I'm going
me
to be
too.
done.
Me too. And I was
Yeah.
actually going to say, I'll never forget, I was in Richmond in June of 2020. I was in Richmond on June 2015 when, they passed, when the Supreme Court made the decision. And I had no clue that I was standing in the room with now 5 people who are now queer and in committed relationships. And I had no clue at the time. A lot of us were just kids. I was just a kid at the time. And but now looking back on that moment, I'm very excited for the after the show weddings because I actually get to witness. It's something different when you get the news and you're like, oh, it's just the news. It's just a big deal. But like, it's a different feeling when you actually get to witness the actions of those policies. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We have John Barry and Brenda Barry, who are husband and wife, and they are both officiants, and they own the Appalachian Wedding Chapel and Boutique in Cape and Bridge, West Virginia. They are coming down, and they will be the officiants for the ceremony. And I know Brenda has married so many queer couples in her time, and John is just a wonderful human being. And so when I went to them saying, "Hey, hear me out. Crazy idea. I'll make sure you're fed." They jumped on it like immediately, no hesitation at all. And to me, that is true representation of community. And it was the same with Larry. When I would go to Larry and say, "I have 3 kids, I have 4 kids. At one point, there were 6 of y'all that could not afford summer camp." And I went to Larry, and next thing you know, a check was dropped off. And he's like, "Yeah, whatever you need, whenever, however, don't tell nobody." Which is why y'all didn't know who Larry was or what was happening until after he passed. And when he passed, I was like, ha ha ha, now I have permission to tell everybody what you've done.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't for you, a lot of these kiddos would not have had the opportunity. I mean, I probably would have let them in anyway. Y'all know me, but It
We
helped
would have still
sustain,
shown up.
yeah, it helped
Right.
sustain us financially, Selah financially. We didn't have to
Hmm.
sacrifice because Larry was always so giving and loving um and loved everything that you guys did. He came to just about every show. He came to every show. And he would bring other people with him um, to witness what we were doing. And so a lot of the first um, conversations with community people about Selah, what we were doing and showcasing you guys was through Larry. Larry going, hey, check out this cool thing that I am silently supporting
Yeah.
in a way. So we're very, very excited about it. So yeah, that'll be on April 12th. The Work Continues Scholarship Dinner, and you'll be able to see Sarah Downs and Lanie Smith as Jen and Macy in their roles. But for that night, Joanna Schilling will be taking the role of Della, and she's been a wonderful, wonderful asset to the cast as far as a co-director and a creative in the team. So we can't wait to see that. Experience an unforgettable evening at the Work Continues annual scholarship dinner celebrating the legacy of Larry Lamar Yates. On April 12th, join us at the Selah Theater Project for a night of exquisite dining featuring a menu crafted by the renowned chef Do'zia from Atlanta. Indulge in a culinary journey that blends tradition and innovation, followed by a captivating performance from the talented cast of The Cake, a play that explores love, family, and the sweetness of life. As the night unfolds, be part of a heartwarming wedding ceremony officiated by the Appalachian Wedding Chapel and Boutique, creating memories that will last a lifetime. This event is a tribute to Larry Lamar Yates and his dedication to education and community support. Secure your place at this extraordinary evening where dreams are celebrated and futures are built. Tickets are limited, so reserve yours today. Visit our SelahTheaterProject.org or call us at 540-684-5464 for more information. Join us as we continue to make a difference together.
At Selah Theater, I love taking acting classes in the fall, winter, spring, and loads of camp choices in the summer. All classes, camps, and workshops are open to youth willing to learn the craft of theater, music theater, art, and production. To learn more about these awesome opportunities, check out Selah Theater's website at SelahTheaterProject.org. Just click on the Classes Camp tab. Hope to see you there.
We just had like an offside conversation about the show, and I think it's a great way to end our time together. But the misconception in this polarized world that we're in about this show. So, as we mentioned in the first segment, it's about Della, who's a baker from North Carolina, whose goddaughter comes home and wants her to make her wedding cake. And Della agrees until she finds out that it's going to be for a lesbian wedding. And in this community, we're seeing a really hard time with being able to have some kind of conscious effort to, one, support the arts, two, to support the cast, and three, to understand that not every story that features queer people or people of color is preachy or coming at you for your thoughts or personal beliefs or perspectives. If anything, I think this shows a great representation of all perspectives and bringing them to the table. There's not a villain or a hero in this story. Would you guys agree or disagree?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think in this small town, there's a lot of unconscious bias. You see the word queer or lesbian and you're like, oh, that's immediately going to be something that I don't want to see. I don't want to be involved in that. And there's a line in the show that Jen says. She says, I don't want them to have to think about it, and neither do they. Because for Jen's family, who is rather conservative, it's almost like she is inconveniencing them with her queerness. Um, and that's how a lot of people are around here, you know. They'll say that they accept it, but in reality, it's just that they don't want to talk about it. So they'll say, yeah, okay, whatever. But there is also still a lot of hatefulness and a lot of assuming around this show. But we've talked about this before. You hate like every character in this show at least at one point, and you love them at one point as well. There's not this bad guy versus good guy, classic plot here in this show. There's so many other issues that happen besides Della trying to figure out if she's going to make this wedding cake. Yes, it's called the cake, but it's really about so many other things. It's about how this decision impacts Della's life, how it impacts Jen and Macy and their relationship, and Della's relationship with Tim, and Jen wrestling with her faith, Macy, trying to figure out if this is what she wants. And it's yeah, I think it's just hoping that people can get over that unconscious bias and assuming, and just coming to see the show to support us, a small community nonprofit theater, and maybe learn something new. Step out of your comfort zone and just see what it's about.
I think there's a lot of times where I've gone to see shows that were outside of my comfort zone, which is, that's a lot to say because that's a hard thing to be outside
Yeah.
of my comfort zone. But I have found that I love being surprised when I take the chance to witness theater because I love theater. And when the storyline surprises you or catches you off guard, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not what I was expecting. I think that's one of the most beautiful surprises about what theater and storytelling can be. But the other part of it is like, if we only stick to what we know, how do we ever grow as a community or society? And as artists, I think a lot of theaters are feeling that right now, where they're losing grant money or whatever because they are doing a particular type of show. We don't have that fear because we don't receive any state or federal funding, but it's amazing how many theaters have changed their seasons or shifted what shows they're going to do because of that. And I don't know if we can afford as a community. Artists are the movers of culture and society. And I don't know if it would afford us as a community or as a society to stifle creative activity when it comes to certain issues, topics, or conversations.
Right. And I would just like to add something to that. For Larry's dinner, we have people traveling in from out of state, right? I'm looking for where I want my roots to be for my personal family life. And I'm looking at areas and saying, what is their theater life like? What is their entertainment like? What kind of community advocacy groups exist? How does the community come together in times of crisis if there's been crisis in the community as of recent? Those are all things that people look for when they're looking to establish where they want to be if they're really being intentional. And so creatives are really important for tourism, for GDP, for just like the life cycle and the economics of communities. For example, Stafford, Virginia. I would have never been there. I would have never even heard of it if it wasn't for the fact that the Shakespeare Theater Center just happens to be there. And I go there at least twice a year to see something. And then also it's super particular about choosing a show that's conversational, like this show, right, doesn't have a bad or a good or an evil person and a good person. It doesn't polarized. This show, when I first read through the script, left me with more questions than answers, which I think is so important to growing curiosity and growing within yourself. And as someone who's religious and is still in this show, I find this show to be so thought-provoking, and such a good way of communicating to communities that it's such a nuance. There's so much nuance. We can't be polarized by like they versus them and us versus them, and it doesn't work that way, right? We're all nuanced human beings. There's multiple layers. It's a huge in America especially, it's such a huge diaspora of people who live in the United States who have different experiences. And so this show is not one that polarizes, but instead one that creates curiosity and compassion and understanding. And I just think like it's just so important to bring creative voices to communities. And it also inspires the next generation, right? Because I will never forget, I went and saw Romeo and Juliet in my 9th grade year at a small independent theater in Northern Virginia. And I was expecting just the average Romeo and Juliet. What I didn't know is that Romeo and Juliet were both being played by male presenting people. And I found that so fascinating of like, you can tell a story, right? And gender bend it and it'd still be the same story. At the end of the day, I still came away heartbroken that they both die in the end. Man, I was in 9th grade, couldn't understand the Shakespearean English, but I knew it was sad, okay? And I love that we get to have those special opportunities to just tell stories in such a unique way and also just put unique stories out there, right? Like I find it really important to do so because that's how we grow. And that's how we transform communities towards a wave of love and understanding and compassion. Because at the end of the day, if we can't live in community with one another, agree to disagree, and still show up when the neighbor across the street has an emergency, then like, why are we here? Personally, that's what I feel. So,
and that's just it. It's about community. Della goes through this journey of her love for her goddaughter Jen and her love for the Lord. And she goes through this battle of what is right and what is wrong. At the same time, you're seeing how her choices affect everyone around her in a different way because everyone is going through their own journey. And sometimes when we hit crossroads with another person, we don't know what they're dealing with personally, and they don't know what we're dealing with personally. We're only present in that moment with that one particular problem. And I think the beautiful job that Bekah did was she showcased everyone's journey in just an hour and a half and how they got to this moment, how they got to this heart of the problem. And the problem is not simply that Della doesn't want to make the cake. There are so many problems layered, no pun intended, so many problems layered within the play itself, that it almost, I will say honestly, the play is very triggering for me. I think I've told you that, Lainey. It triggers me so bad, especially your one monologue that Jen does about wanting to be loved, and that's it. That triggers me and chokes me up every single time because I was that person that exclaimed that to my family, that all I need is for you to just show up and love me. That's it. I'm not asking anything else from you. And they couldn't do that. So it's that world, but on the opposite end, we're seeing Della's world, which is like she's in this marriage that they love each other, but they're not present with each other, and they're not communicating what their needs are for each other. So when she sees Macy and Jen and their genuine love for each other, it makes her reflect on her own marriage. and what her needs and her wants are, which I think is just a beautiful arc in bringing any perspective that were to come to see the show is present. It's not too extreme. It's not too elaborate. It's just about being human. And like Sarah said earlier, it's also about love. Love in all spectrums. Love for a goddaughter, love for a husband, love for this new person that's come into her life. For Jen, it's love for her home life, love for the woman that practically helped raise her after her mom passed. And for Macy, it's love for Jen and trying to find some way to find common ground in this place that is unfamiliar for her. For Tim, it's finding that vulnerability to show that he loves his wife. And it's such a beautiful story. And it's simple. It's so simple if you think about it. It's so simple and so easy. And I'm so glad both of you are part of it. And you guys give such great life to Jen and Macy. And I cannot wait for the community to see all of the work that you've put into it. Also, all of the work I've put into it with your training.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I feel like this ensemble is where we've become very close in this process of the show because I think it hits home with a lot of us. And during rehearsal, usually when we're rehearsing, we're like, all right, we're going to get this blocked, we're going to do it. But there have been so many moments of vulnerability within the cast during the show that has helped us really build the show to show people what it's about, you know? And having our own little cast family will help show the community how to come together in these moments, I think. And that also helps with how good we are at acting, not to like, toot our own horn or whatever. But, I think that we're doing a really wonderful job portraying this story. I think that, I feel honored to work with the people I'm working with, Blue, Sarah, Paige, Will, or Theater Dad, and even Ollie as a stage manager. He said to me yesterday something that I really felt, that he has grown so much as just a part of the theater community. And he is someone who really took a jump and said, I don't do anything, let me learn how to do theater. And that has changed his life immensely, even just as a 15-year-old, so just take that jump and just come see the show. Come see the show, people. Okay, just come see it. It will be worth it. Whether you pay $15 for a regular ticket or you come to the dinner or whatever, just take that leap, get out of your comfort zone, trust yourself.
Yeah, and I would say my last remark today would be probably that if this show isn't out of your comfort zone, invite someone whose comfort zone needs to be stretched.
Yes.
I go to a pretty conservative church. We're pretty 50-50. And I love that about my church, but it's also been like, you should come see my show. Like, I really do think you would love the show. And it's inviting people who, like, I don't always see eye to eye with, but I want to genuinely invest in their growth as a person and in their development and love. And so I've been really excited about this show. And so if you're like, oh, I can't wait to see it. Well, if you're seeing this and you're like, I can't wait to see it, make sure you invite one person who might not know about it. So that way they can also grow in their journey.
I love everything about that. I love you both. Lanie, I'll actually see you in a few.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Sarah Downs and Lanie Smith, for joining us with Theater Talk, our episode 3. And talking about the cake and community and also about Larry. We're so proud of the work that we do. We don't hesitate to create the work that we do, and it's because of wonderful actors and community members like you two. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Theater Talk. We hope to see you next month for episode 4. We're so excited about the progress of Theater Talk and all that is being accomplished with it. Remember, you can watch us on any podcast streaming channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
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 Thank you for tuning in to Theater Talk, hosted by Bleu Do'zia, brought to you by Safe Theater Project, where the magic of theater comes to life. Stay inspired, stay engaged, and keep the love of theater alive. Join us next week for more insightful episodes, and remember, the stage awaits you.